Good morning, this is Angela with Progress Permaculture. It is going to be a roasting hot day here in Portland, Oregon. It was above 100 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday, will be again today, and for multiple days to come. It's fairly early in the morning. I have been out doing yard chores, and I thought I would just take a few minutes and chat about something that's been on my mind. So I have a number of videos where I talk about poultry care and garden care for heat waves, ways you can take advantage of a heat wave, like I put my solar dehydrator out and dehydrate figs and cherries and things like that in hot weather because boom, they're dry like really quickly. But today's video is not really a like how to garden in hot weather video. Obviously you want to do things like wearing lightweight, light colored long sleeves, wear a sun hat, wear sunscreen, protect yourself from the sun. You want to stay well hydrated, etc., etc. But what I really want to talk about today is something that's been on my mind lately. In fact, I keep making posts on my Facebook page. Bra, I have one teenage duck that might be ending up in the soup pot because she's unbelievably loud and annoying, and I'm growing a little bit concerned about her being annoying to my neighbors. So we're gonna give her another week or so and see how it goes, but she is by far the loudest duck I've ever had. Anyway, I digress. So I've been posting on my Facebook page quite a bit about my frustration with the way that we've organized Western society. That's a frustration I've had all the way back, I'm 43 now, all the way back into my teenage years. It's probably one of the reasons that I was drawn to permaculture in the first place. The fact that our society is organized so that we are all cogs in the industrial machine, and it's really about producing capital for investors and for executives, increasing their profit share, rather than being about community sustainability, rather than being about improving the quality of life for all people. Now, I'm not saying modern society hasn't had many benefits that it's brought to all of us. Obviously, longer life, obviously, many conveniences and many advances as a culture have benefited us in a positive way, but we have lost quite a bit along the way as well. And one of the things that I think about frequently is how we have lost our connection to the rhythm of the seasons, the rhythm of the day. We set this really rigid work schedule where it doesn't matter what season of the year you're in. In fact, Oregonians have had this conversation for quite a while about whether we should do daylight savings time and standard time, because for us in the winter, it's dark by 4:30 in the afternoon. And it's lovely in the summer to have it be light until 10 p.m. Actually, I really enjoy it. It's one of the things I'll be talking about in a minute in this video, because it allows for some daylight late into the evening and you can be out doing yard work once the temperatures start dipping. But we've lost our connection to the rhythms of the sun, of the moon, of the seasons. And instead, we follow the set schedule of industry, of commerce, of the consumer culture. Because it's really not about how we've evolved, how our bodies are meant to operate within our environment. It's really about profit. Everybody's gonna start mowing now. Everybody else is taking advantage of the cool weather, so I hope you all don't mind the mowers going from multiple directions in my neighborhood. Despite the fact that I don't have a lawn and I don't have to use loud gas-powered equipment, most of my neighbors have to. But they also put up with my quacking ducks, so you know, it's a little trade-off. So I was thinking about how, as a child, I grew up as an Air Force brat, and we lived in Germany when I was quite young, but then we moved to Arizona and we spent several years there, and then we moved to San Antonio, Texas, and spent several years there. So I spent all of my childhood, basically up until high school, in very hot climates where traditionally they had operated differently, and there was still this tension between what works best with how our bodies operate, our energy levels, what is safe for us in really hot climates versus what the normal westernized culture expects of us in terms of a job schedule, in terms of work hours. And obviously the increasing number of heat waves here in Portland have me thinking about this pattern of when we craft our society around siestas, around resting in the afternoon during the hottest part of the day, when we think about organizing our day in a way that optimizes our ability to work, increases our safety, and still allows us to get the necessary tasks done, we're really aligning ourselves with permaculture principles and permaculture design, because we're working within the framework of the system instead of fighting it. So I was talking to my kids yesterday afternoon when it was really hot, and the kids were bemoaning like, oh, I've got to go do chores, I've got to go water up at Grandpa's house. I'm like, just don't. Take a siesta in the afternoon. When it's really hot in the afternoons, I tend to do things like edit video for this YouTube channel. I tend to do things like catch up on mending. I read with my kids. I listen to audiobooks and just chill out. Sometimes, since I've had COVID and I'm still really tired, even 2 months out, sometimes in the hot weather we've had this summer, I've taken a nap. When we encourage our bodies to rest and to do quiet activities if we need to be productive in the heat of the day, we're reducing the stress on our bodies. We're reducing our resource consumption because we are not tapping into the system and exerting ourselves at a time where the system is already stressed to begin with. So for me, part of what that looks like when we have heat waves is I get up earlier. I tend to be an early riser, but in the mornings I tend to do quiet things when it's not hot out, particularly obviously in the winter when it's cold and rainy. I get up and I work on my book. I work on paperwork that I have to do. I work on quiet things like making bread. In hot weather, I don't make bread. I have an outdoor summer kitchen that I've yet to finish because I have 12 other projects I haven't completed yet, but it's on my list. So eventually I would like to get to a place where I could still make a lot of bread, even in a heat wave, because I could cook it outside. But what we do when we have a heat wave right now is we forego things like cooked meals, like hot meals. We choose to avoid any way we can heat up the house. And in those morning hours, instead, when it's cool, instead of kneading bread, I'm outside in the garden getting chores done. Maybe 5:30, maybe 6 a.m. It was really pleasant out here at 6 a.m. this morning. It's probably closer to 10 now, but I'm in the shade and it's still very pleasant. It's already not pleasant in the full sun. So taking the early morning hours, just as the sun is coming up, and getting our outdoor chores done makes a big difference in our efficiency, how well we work, and how much we enjoy our work, and it reduces our suffering. And then as the day gets hotter, finding the time to rest, finding the time to take a siesta, or if we can't do that, engage in quiet activities. And then once again in the evening, as I said earlier, it's light here till almost 10 in the summer. In the evening, as the temperatures start to dip, I go back outside and I do another round of chores. For me, that works really well. It reduces the stress on my body. It helps me still get all of the necessary chores done. I just shift them to another part of the day. I want to say that I have a tremendous amount of privilege in being able to do this. Folks who work an office job, folks who have a set work schedule, are unable to follow the rhythm of the day and the rhythm of the seasons the way that I can. Obviously, my spouse is a teacher with a regular job during the school year, and in the summer he has an unpaid furlough. Teachers are basically laid off for the duration of the summer. And we've chosen this lifestyle on purpose because he likes having the time off to spend with the kids and to devote to our garden. And I've chosen this lifestyle because I wanted to unschool my children and because I really wanted to follow a pursuit of permaculture. In doing so, I have much more freedom to go ahead and follow the rhythm of the day. I totally get that somebody who has to be at work by 9 a.m. and will be working until 5 is probably saying, Angela, I am not getting up at 5 a.m. to take care of my garden before I go to work all day. I don't get a break in the afternoon when it's a bazillion degrees. That does not exist here in the Pacific Northwest. And we have no ability when heat waves come to shift our schedule. There's nothing built into the schedule of when the stock market is operating, when businesses need to be up and running, when customers are banging on the door. There's no ability to shift based on the needs that arise due to spikes in temperature or due to inclement weather. In Portland, we're terrible about wanting to shut down anything when we have an ice or snowstorm. It doesn't matter how much damage it causes to the roads. It doesn't matter about the risks of safety, the oil and gasoline spills from car wrecks. It doesn't matter whether it's sensible, whether it is sensical to have our businesses open. We want to stay open as much as we possibly can, no matter how bad the weather is, because we've got to grind in this society. And that's so frustrating to me as someone who wants to pursue a sustainable life and wants to make it available for everybody else to pursue as well. We are so chained to the way capitalism operates. We cannot lose one day of productivity. I have a video on hyperproductivity and how damaging it is to be overly productive, but our society pushes it so much. And for me, when I'm out here gardening early in the morning during these heat waves, I'm thinking like, what a blessing and what an opportunity I have to be able to make those shifts in my schedule so that I can align with what is happening with the weather, so that I still have the ability to get done what needs to get done, but in a way that does not harm my body or harm my system, and feels like the right choice. It feels like a sensible choice. It feels like smart design. Most folks in our society don't have that option. We have no flexibility in our schedules because we've got to keep grinding. We've got to keep earning that paycheck. The needle on the profit meter cannot dip at all. I've even noticed that on this YouTube channel, that if I don't make a video for one day, my profit dips quite a bit and the algorithm shows me to fewer people. YouTube wants you to post videos constantly, consistent posting. And as someone who is trying to use YouTube to help pay the bills, I have a daughter starting college in a few weeks, and I have a kid that's about to need braces. It causes me so much stress and frustration to have to deal with money at all, to have to exist in a system where you have to work for a wage, an income, where you have to think about maximizing your profitability at all. One of the reasons that I do YouTube videos where the ads are skippable and where I do Patreon is because I don't like the idea of having a paywall. I don't like the idea of having to sell products. Like when I used to do plant sales and I used to do craft fair sales, I always underpriced things. I never made money. I had a very hard time asking people to pay what the item was worth because I have a very hard time selling things to people. I have a very hard time with the notion of money. That's my own hang up. But it's more than that. It's the idea that we all have to exist in a system that is set up to undermine our abilities to live sustainably, and that we have no opportunity to just pause and catch our breath and say like, it shouldn't be this way. I want to find a way to work around this and try something different. Most of us are operating in such a way that we just have to keep going. Even though it's unsustainable and untenable, we have to keep going, and we do not get an opportunity to take a siesta in the afternoon. We do not get an opportunity to, take a break and take a breather and try and reset, or even to ask the questions. Is this the way our society should be functioning? Is this the best design that leads human beings toward resilience and helps us restore desertified landscapes and increase biodiversity and increase the quality of life for all people? So thanks for listening today. I expect over the next few days, most of my videos are going to be somewhat topical and less practical out in the garden. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying to stay out of the sun. I'm trying to honor that rhythm of the day. I'm trying to honor operating in my garden in a way that follows permaculture principles and takes care of myself and my household, and increases my efficiency and decreases my stress. So I know that you may not be able to do the same, but if you have the opportunity to try and structure your gardening time, get out very early in the morning, enjoy the garden while it's still cool. Even if it's 110 degrees today, early in the morning, it's 70. And it's really pleasant, and it's a really nice quiet time. In fact, most of my neighborhood was not up. It was a really quiet, peaceful time in the garden. And I'll be back out again late this evening, well after dinner, for another round of gardening. I'm still able to connect with and enjoy my garden. It's just in a different way because that is what the conditions of my system are calling for right now. For those of you that are stuck and trapped and just on the little hamster wheel, being a cog in the machine, I just have so much mad empathy for you. I experience that to a lesser degree, and the degree to which I do experience it, it is maddening for me. So I cannot imagine what it's like for the rest of y'all who have no choice but to keep going and going and going in a system that is entirely unsustainable. It causes me a lot of sadness. We've got to find other ways to organize our society so that we care for people and that we care for our needs and we care for the planet that we all share. I would love your thoughts. If you have strategies for coping with not only hot weather, but coping with and aligning yourself with the cycles of the seasons, the cycles of the day, when things pop up that don't fit the rigid industrial schedule, that don't fit the hours that the New York Stock Exchange is open. I would love to hear about how you are adapting your life and you are incorporating those sustainable ways of being into the rhythm of your day. I'll be back very soon Hopefully it'll be a late evening video where everybody is not out mowing. Thanks for putting up with the background noise in this video. Please stay safe, please stay cool, and I'll be back very soon. Thanks.